TrinFx. Just gonna get started with everything. Be honest, not much really going on in the charts right now. Just see what we could get going on right now, right? Let's see what we could get in charts. What potential trade setups we can find right now as things start to kick off here, just before pre-New York and everything, right? So we do have some interesting stuff coming up in terms of interest rate decisions from the GBP. So I'm looking forward to actually taking a trade setup on this. We are expecting a 75 um, base point increase. So that is something to look forward to. And really probably where we get the bulk of any trades today, to be honest, just because overall there's not really much happening right now, right? So it's probably gonna be a very simple trading day, right? It's probably gonna be a very relaxed trading day. So I'm not too bothered about anything that not really looking out for too much, right? Yeah. I'm sorry guys, I'm using this for the first time and trying to get everything set up, right? It's just me and I have no technical know-how, so it's just taking it one stride at a time, basically, right? So yeah, thus far what we got going on. From yesterday we did take some good trades here on AD card sales. As you can see before, we did actually get a spike in price to the upside for the AUD as well as AD USD. All the other USD cross pairs actually price did spike to the upside during the first half of the interest rate decision from FOMC as well, right? So we did get a spike above. However, again, going with the overall consensus that the US dollar would have been, the stronger of the currency, we did get that rejection candle close, and then following candle, as you can see, we started trending back downwards, right? In the original sort of movement that we wanted to see from price, we actually did get that. I got stopped out of my first position, but had a sell stop just placed right here, and you can see we got triggered and continued moving down. This could probably hit all the way down to around a 7% winner, so that was pretty good. Looking at the DXY, you see that we actually cleared this level, right? And I talked about this last stream as well, that we could probably come into this area, we mark that area, price will retract from that area and then continue moving upwards, right? Which just means that relative USD strength is there, the US dollar is stronger, and therefore we could see a possible continuation in the movement from price. So that was pretty good. That was a pretty good movement that we got out there. Looking overall, not really much to say, right? Whether we continue on this path in terms of the US dollar bullishness, we could probably see some momentum dying down as we come back into more of these supportive levels. Just because overall there's not really much volume, right? Even though in terms of the US dollar strength, we should see that continuation moving higher into these highs around here. If we take a look at the daily chart, we can see that price did reach around this area, right? And I did mention that we could possibly fill this as a zone and start seeing price just move in between these two areas. Just because we don't have the relative volume to continue pushing upwards, right? Even though we do have a bullish US dollar. So that's something to pay attention to once price does reach around this area here. And I'm just marking it, right, guys? So if we do reach around in this area here, I do think at this point we should start taking notice that price could make a reversal on the US dollar, and we could start seeing some pullbacks again, right? And until we have another catalyst or something strong enough to push price higher, then I think this is something worth taking into consideration, that we might just see a continuation such as this, right? With this sort of range and movement in between these two areas and daily time frame. So yeah, that's something that you should pay attention to. It's something that I'll be looking at. All right. In terms of other things that we have coming up, let's take a look at the CHF pairs. Sorry, the JPY pairs, because the yen actually did move pretty nicely overnight, right? We did get some pretty nice moves from the yen. Looking here at JPY, this was one of the trades that we were in. Price played all the way down. First, this would have been a 11% winner if we actually held all the way down here. I think it was somewhere like right around here. So that was like 7-8%. And then we had another position right here from the VIP group, and price just continued moving downwards, right? So this was a very nice trade, and overall pretty simplistic if you ask me in terms of the trade setup and trade idea. Price did come back into this area with the weaker GBP, right? In terms of continuations, was highly unlikely to see any continuations moving forward higher, right? Just because overall we had a weaker pound, therefore that really kind of signified a continuation of that downtrend for me. And once we got that break below this area of let's just take a look on the 4 hour, right? We can see that this was an area price previously struggled passing by, right? We got that pushed upwards, then we come back, we saw these bearish candle formations, a break to the low, right? And then a continuation lower look more probable as well, right? So that was a pretty nice trade. It was pretty solid. Looking to continue forward right now, as we do have the GBP interest rates coming out, I do expect to get sort of a pullback on that, probably back into this area right here. And that's to basically continue the downtrend, right? Let me just delete some of this stuff to make the charts a little clearer. All right. So looking for price to kind of pull back here. If we get the movement that we want to expect from the GBP interest rates, right? And then that continuation moving down. So this would be a pullback for those sellers that would be waiting in these areas of significance to continue that downward trend, right? Overall, we can see that we do have a pretty strong downward movement, right? So it doesn't make sense trying to buy this market, even if we do have interest rates coming out as expected or high, right? Just because overall we do have that weaker GBP sentiment, and interest rates being high isn't enough to really convey that sort of confidence that you want to have in the pound right now, right? So we do have a couple other things on our monetary policy report. This would actually play as well into probably seeing the GBP continue with that fall after the first initial spike. And we also have some BOE vote data, right? So we also have some other stuff that may come into play as well with the overall movement to expect. But overall, yeah, probably just gonna try to get into the move here on that spike upwards, and then a continuation moving down from here, right? So this would be like my target right here, and then a continuation lower. So let me just take a possible setup. All right, make about a 1 to 3. All right, we mark this as the level here that price must maintain. This is the current supportive level. All right, so stop just right around below that, right? You don't want to make it too tight, just because you want to give price, we have 34 minutes before this candle finishes form, and then the news come out, so we could get a spike downwards and a continuation lower, or we could just see that immediate pullback and then another continuation, right? So yeah, so we wanted to see price just maintain this level. We could see some more movement downwards and then the spike to the close. So I would take this like a 1 to 3, 1 to 4, right? So this right here seems like a good trade for me. Looking forward towards that news event. Looking at GBP/USD, you can basically get the same movements out of this too, right? Probably target right around here for that pullback, and then a continuation moving lower, right? So this is probably the move for me as well here, right? We can see on the 4 hour and daily time frame, we did have this sort of upward movement, short term, overall, long term. We are very heavily on a downtrend for the GBP USD. And all of this signifies just how bullish the US dollar is, right? After we had the Fed conference, we basically had Powell saying that they are very keen on hiking rates still, right? So you could go over what the initial projections, what they had in terms of how far they'll hike rates. So that's really bullish for the dollar, and that's why we could see this continuation and momentum. And why getting on this pullback could actually be the best setup for us to continue with those US dollar longs, right? Um, so I'm gonna take this trade here on GBP JPY. Just take a minute to send this out to the group. I'm actually using it from my TrinFx platform on my mobile TradingView platform. All right. So this is it. GBP sell. Stop loss is around 48, 50 pips. Around 50 pips. I like to put a buffer zone for the pips just in case. So when you do risk, you always lose less than what you expected, which is pretty good. When it comes to overall risk management. So GBP JPY sell 50 pips. Stop loss. I'm risking around 2% on this trade, right? If I do get to see those continuations, that would be nice. Just for that pullback to the upside. However, if it doesn't, then it is what it is. I'm not gonna trip about it. This is just all part of trading as well. So GBP JPY, entering that into 60 lot size and I'll buy. Sorry. Right, so just took a buy setup on this. Again, looking forward to seeing those pullbacks here. Noting that we could possibly go lower past this area and see a continuation lower. But overall, with the bearish sentiment, once we do have that GP that rate hike, right, we should see that pullback, right? So this is all about market psychology and expectancies, right? Not like with the US dollar before, what we had the expectancy of that rate hike. So that really made the actual rate hike when it came out a little bit like sort of a very mundane news event, right? So it didn't really have the impact that we once expected it to when it initially came out. But after the Fed conference and we had Powell speaking and what he said, that really helped bolster the price of the US dollar and had that sort of bullish momentum, which we wanted to see early on at the beginning of the interest rates, right? So yeah, that was a little nice. That was a nice play out, to be honest. That was like clear cut, clean market psychology. It was like the very definition of how markets think, right? And how much weight the Fed, how much weight Jerome Powell's actual opinion holds in the market, especially for the US dollar, right? And we saw that trickle down in all the other cross currency pairs. So that was like just a beautiful display of using fundamentals. Um, so yeah, I'm looking just to see this maintained. If this just pushes down, then it is what it is. However, yeah, if we wick down, it is what it is. If I get stopped out of this, then so be it. But yeah, once we do get that pullback, if we can manage to get that pullback, I'll look to enter more trades to go short, right? So I'm just put a alert here actually. Let me just see what else we have going on. All right. So this 80 card sell actually, I'm contemplating whether to stay in it or not right now. Um, I'll probably stay in it. I'll probably stay in it and just put my stops around break even just to manage the trade and just to see some continuations to the lower side because we did pass this level, right? And I spoke about this level in previous live stream as well. Legacy price pulled past this level. Would really give that indication for more of a bearish tone, more sellers in the market once we got out of this zone. And we got like a double confirmation on this, right? Price wicked up, we wick back down, the buyers just aren't there. Strong bearish candle push the downside, and then we push past this area. This was like the retest. We continue back out, and now we're just seeing that bearish momentum, right? So there's zero reason to be looking for buys in a situation like this. You just want to sell and sell all the way to the next significant level, which is the support level right here, right? The support area. Right, so yeah, most likely we should see that continuation all the way down. Whether we get that this week or not, it really depends on volume, right? So if we don't have anything interfering with the overall price action movement, then we should see a continuation lower. So that's I basically want to stay in for that, and yeah, we could probably get a good setup from that as well, right? Um, if we do enter back into this level, we could look to take some trades back to the upside, some swing trades back up, back targeting right into this area as well on a pullback, just for those overall continuations, right? But if we do break to the downside, this is the next set of level that we have to clear here. And let me just remove this. All right, but this will be the next set of level we have to clear. Looking at the daily, yeah, we could actually see price come all the way back down here, right? That's not too far off, right? We could actually see that happening. That's around let's see how much pips that is. That should be quite a bit. 400 pips. Right, yeah, so that could actually happen. Um yeah, actually looking forward to actually see price push past this area. And those continuations will be very nice for longs to the downside. Right? So that's basically all that we have going on in the market right now. Things kind of it's like the quiet before the storm, right? Um, yeah, looking at the USD continuations, got JPYs. Let me just see this. All right, so see our price actually pushing very strongly into this zone. We couldn't get that wick out of that area, right? We could actually hit down here, and then price wicks back up. That is a possibility. Not gonna deny that. Um, it really depends, right? The JPY has had some sort of I don't know what it was, but some sort of catalyst to help push price down, in favor of the yen. So I don't know what that was, whether it holds any weight as we move into the New York session as well. Um, but we can see that the yen is pushing pretty strong, right? CAD CHF also talked about this on the live stream as well, being an area of interest if we actually maintain that support to see price push back up. Before that, we did get price coming into that zone. We made this sort of resistance area right here, and then price pushed lower, right? At that point, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna try to take this trade just because there's more uncertainty at this point, right? We don't know whether price is going to continue back upwards or is it going to maintain the support zone and actually, push up, or if it's going to push down. Now, when the interest rate decision did come out for the US dollar and we saw that CAD bullishness, again, I also spoke that we may see some CAD bullishness because of the correlation with the US dollar, right? And so forth. So said, so done. We did actually see price on the CAD being bolstered from that US news as well. And well, we could have taken this trade, but it's a little bit more messy, right? At the point of time, didn't need to take the risk. The additional risk wasn't necessary. So I just opted to stay out of this trade, right? But if you took the idea, then this would have been a nice one for you. Actually caught a pretty nice swing to the upside. This would have been around what, 41, around, let's say, like 37 pips, right? So that's pretty nice. That's pretty neat. We maintained this support level looking on the higher time frame. Right, we maintain the support level, clear bullish push to the upside. After we had all these wick rejections here to the left, right? So we can see that the bullishness is in this market still, and we could possibly see some continuations moving higher, right? The next level that we have to actually push past is this one right here, the highs made. So yeah, whether we could get that actually being surpassed, really have to wait and see, right? Because it's whether the momentum is there or not. If we have any catalyst, nah, right? We have some USD news, jobless claims and whatnot. Um, looks like good numbers. Let's see jobless claims. Is it more than the last? The consensus is 1450. The previous was 1438, right? So nah, that's not great at all. All right. Whether this has impacts on the actual US dollar, we'll have to wait and see, right? I'm not gonna try to call anything right now, especially with NFP coming up, and we do have bearish numbers for NFP. We could actually see a sort of reversal on the US dollar again, which is just what I'm being aware of right now, right? Um, so I'm not really trying to call anything in terms of the US dollar. We have the continuations. I am long on the dollar right now. Overall, and the long term of everything, US dollar long seems like the higher probable thing. However, I'm not going to deny the fact that between that we could get some pullbacks, some major moves to the downside, maybe some ranging and stuff like that, right? So that is to say, price could reach into this area right here. Sorry, price could reach into this area right here and then just make a pullback, right? So I'm not going to deny the fact that that could actually happen. Um, so that's just something I think you should be aware of. Especially if you are looking to long the US dollar, you should be aware of these news events that are coming up. The jobless claims and as well as NFP. We talked about this on the last one as well with the consensus having bad numbers, right? So 63,000 less than the previous. Excuse. Right. So we should take that into consideration if you are going to long the US dollar. If you try longing the US dollar during NFP, which I really, really don't recommend. If you have the risk appetite for it, then yeah. We in the VIP group we have some solid trades. We had some solid trades. So that is a possibility for us, but I just probably would not risk it, right? It's really not worth it. Um, Especially with the numbers being bad, we could see a major pullback depending on how much impact the actual NFP has on the dollar, right? And it should be significant, right? Just because of the overall bullishness, what we experienced during the Fed interest rate increase. So we have a lot of backings on the US dollar right now. So NFP could probably really have a very significant effect on the index, right? On the dollar index, on the dollar strength, right? We could see that major pullback. And then on Friday, I'm just saying like some probabilities, right? We could see some major pullbacks back into this area, and we'll actually note it, right? Whether it happens or not, right? Price may pull back into this area right here, and then moving into next week, we might see some continuation moves upwards from that and try to pass these significant levels to continue with the dollar bullishness, right? Or we could actually continue back down. So it's really anybody's guess. But for me personally, I think there's a higher probability to continue upwards, right? Especially with the new numbers that we have coming out for the interest rate increase. Also, what was said by Jerome Powell. You could check that out. If you're not in the Discord group already, then you could just check it out on Forex Live as well. What was said, the highlights of the statements made, and you could get a generalization of what's going on, right? What investors are looking at, what the banks are looking at from the Fed as well, right? So all of that data is what they're using to make their decisions. Um, so yeah, all of that will play a significance in the price action, right? See, oh, so price did pull back pretty significantly, like I said, right? So yeah, I'm probably just gonna wait on this, right? We have around 19 minutes again, so we're probably gonna wait and see what happens with this from price. Whether we get a major pullback or not, it really depends. Let me just close this off and widen this. I'm not gonna brag. We're probably one of the only Forex education streams here that's really committed to helping others new to the scene. But hopefully you guys, whoever watches this, whoever views this, you get some information out of it. And I really just want to help everyone just progress with their trading journey to the best of my abilities. Um as we just waiting, right? Not really much to see or going on. We could take a look at some of the indices, such as NAS 100 and the US 30 as well. So like you can see at the beginning of the actual news, price spiked up, right? And I'm sure a lot of people was like, yes, was so great taking the reversal of what I thought was going to happen, right? So great taking the buys on the US dollar right now. Sorry, taking shorts on the US dollar because the initial spike of the interest rates. I don't know what people is expecting for price to continue going up. Um, just with the underlying cause and stuff that we do have being talked about, such as inflation. I'm just gonna type it out, right? I'm gonna type it out as the reasoning as to why price moved, the way it moved, and why initially we got that spike, that expectancy, right? After that expectancy. So firstly, we had the Fed interest rates, right? So Fed rates came out. Um, Fed rates came out, and we had it moved bumped up to 4%, right? 4%. From it being 3.25%, I believe, right? So we had a 75 base point increase, right? So for a lot of people, right, some people they actually price this in beforehand. Let me just, oh, it's white. Let me just, right. So some people were under the influence that okay, we saw price basically, we probably priced that in beforehand, right? If we take a look here, such as the AD USD, right? That would have been right around here when we got that bearishness here. And I'm just gonna delete everything. I'll reset everything. Right, initially when we got that bearishness here, this bearish movement here, it's like okay, maybe we actually starting to price in that expectancy, right? That market expectancy from the Fed interest rates being increased, and this was the priced in data that we were looking at, right? So at that point, people, right, markets being the markets, you're trading with psychology, right? It's actually like a whole psychological war when it comes to trading too, right? You have the technicals, you have the psychological aspect, and when you're thinking about the markets are forward thinking, right? So it have expectancies and the weight of each expectancy. So when price moved to the downside here, okay, this was the day before interest rates was coming out. So the thought or the basic the general thought was that okay, we're pricing in the rates right now before the actual rates come out. So therefore, when rates do come out and it comes out as expected, maybe we didn't get 100 points, 100 base point increase or anything like that, right? Because there was a rumor to expect a 100 base point increase. However, that didn't happen, which also contributed to the initial spike to the upside, right? So we priced in rates. Firstly, that was the expectancy, right? After rates being priced in, I'm just gonna put that in quotations, right? Rates being priced in, right? So after rates were priced in, the expectancy was to see the market reverse slash yes the weakness on the of the interest rate increase, right? So this was the expectancy, right? So after we had that plenty downside, okay, priced in the data. So at the point of when the actual news event come out, right? If we already priced that in, right? If the markets already took that information that we're going to get that increase and ran with it at the initial get-go, then at this point, right, once rates does come out and it comes out as expected or it comes out lesser than expected, that will be weak for the dollar or whatever currency you are looking at because you already priced it in. If price action already moved on an expectancy, when the actual thing comes out, it's not going to have much of an effect, right? And that's a generalization of the market. This is a general thought, right? So that's some of the things that you need to pay attention to when it comes to using fundamental data, right? So yeah, just some education for you guys. So markets are forward thinking, right? Right, and this is something that you probably heard before, right? Markets are forward thinking, right? That means that we moved with generalizations, we move with expectancies and stuff like that, right? So markets move with expectancies and generalizations, right? So it moves with like, so that is sort of to say it moves before the actual movement or before the actual catalyst needed for that move, right? So if we think something is going to happen and we have a high likelihood or a high chance of it happening, then we're probably going to see that being translated into the market before, right? We're probably going to see that early on, and that is what this expected move was, right? So when interest rate did come out and it came out as expected, we didn't get an increase by that 100 points like it was rumored to, right? That actually made the US dollar temporarily weak. Now price pushed up. However, we had the Fed conference, and we know during the Fed conference, we know a couple of things, right? We know inflation is high. We know that the Fed needs to keep on doing what they're doing in order to curb inflation to reach their target goal of that 2-3% control, where they could control inflation, right? We also have some other things in place, such as the labor market and all these other stuff, right? But inflation being the key thing that the Fed is going to talk about. Now we know every economy doesn't like inflation, right? Too much inflation is bad, right? Too little is also bad. Right now we have too much inflation, so we need to bring it back down to a control level, right? After we saw the rates increase and we saw that continuation in rates rising, we still overall saw the inflation levels be either being where it was at on previous, if we look at the yearly comparisons in the past, right? When we compare like this year's inflation to last year's and such, we saw that the inflation level remained either the same or there was little to no change, right? And that is why I expected, to the very least, that the Fed would still be very hawkish with their US dollar, buying the US dollar, right? With increasing rates and keeping on with this kind of hawkish tone that they do have. So once the Fed, Jerome Powell, did come out to speak, right? I don't have it here. I do believe I actually sent it within the let's just see, the fundamental analysis. Right. So let's see, right? So the Fed could step down to a slow pace in December, even if inflation data does not improve much. Um, right, not ready to talk about a pause. So this is just like this is from one of the like insiders, that also that's basically like a predictor, so to say, somebody that also deals with fundamental analysis, one of those analysts, right? So this is about from what was expected from the Fed, things that was said. So you could take a look through at this, right? The risks are asymmetric. If the Fed does too much, it can cut. If it doesn't tighten enough, then you're in real trouble. it is very premature to think about pausing. And these were some of the things that was said from Powell, right? So all of that bolstered the US dollar, right? All of that gave it its strength. So we saw that reversal happen on that initial candle move. So this was within the first 30 minutes of the price movement. We saw that continuation. So after the initial push, price actually corrected that move, and then we saw a continuation moving downwards, right? So that's basically where that US dollar bullishness came from, right? Or at least in my understanding as to how I read and view the fundamentals. So hopefully that helps you a little bit in terms of like your fundamental understanding of what price action does, right? And how the markets think. That is why also during Fed conference, when we do have interest rates and then the Fed conference, the main thing to pay attention to mostly is that Fed conference, right? What Powell says. It could either help bolster price for the US dollar, or it could have the opposite effect and also weaken it. So that's something that you should take notice of as well. Because a lot of people just was thinking about the interest rates and not really what would be said during the Fed conference, right? But that is the main headliner. The conference shows what they expect from the Fed moving forward, right? So just some information for you guys. Hopefully that can help you out with your fundamental analysis when you're looking to, long the US dollars or whatever the case may be, right? Um, yeah, so we have around 7 minutes or so before the interest rate decisions for the GBP. All right. So I'm really curious as to see what price does actually here for the GBP. Especially since we are weak overall on the GBP right now. I want to see if this may help bolster price for a little bit. We could just see a pullback. All right, so that's basically all I'm looking for, those pullback moves. I mean, if you want to long this, you could long this too, GBP I'm just not going to put in the additional risk to do so. Right now taking it pretty easy for the day, right? Depending moving forward, we might get into other setups, right? But thus far, really for the start of the day, really, you know, you should take things easy every now and then, especially if if you have back-to-back wins, or if you're up for the week. It doesn't make sense trying to push the envelope as it is, right? Thank you for joining the stream, guys. Feel free to leave a like on this, help the video out. Hopefully at some point we could reach more people and help others understand the markets, to some extent. If I could impart some knowledge to you guys, then that's all I want to do. If you find this information useful, then you're not subscribed already, then feel free to subscribe as well as leave a like. All right, and share the video. All right, let's get people into this. Let's get them interested. Show them the way how to trade. Another way how to trade, right? There's multiple different ways to trade, right? But there's the simplistic way, and then there's the overly complicated way, which is just using a crap ton of indicators and whatnot. Right. So we have a couple of minutes remaining. If you want to, I think you could long this, right? I think you could possibly long this. I am longing one of the pairs. If you just join the stream, then you'll see later on. The only other thing that I could think of to actually take possible setups on, probably like the indices, right? Probably like the indices too. Looking for pullback opportunities from this. You could possibly get a pullback opportunity. Let's see, on the daily, coming back down into these zones here. Let me just delete this. Are we coming back down to these zones here on the daily time frame? Looking further on, I don't know. Price could reach back into this area, and we just see all of this kind of a whack movement right here. We could see that being displayed again. Just because overall we have been seeing the US dollar, the strength rise and fall, rise and fall, rise and fall. But if we're going to get a continuation, especially how businesses goes right now, I don't really think we might see much of NAS moving higher up, right? or at least we might see price just falling back into this level here. Um, I would say continuing forward, maybe you could wait and see whether price maintains this level. We might get a pullback down below here, right? But if price manages to hold that level, you could along this back into this zone. This looks like basically like a zone that price is filling out here on the 4-hour chart. This is the bigger time frame on the 1 hour. We could possibly get a pullback here, right? During NFP, we could possibly get a pullback somewhere to right here. So that is something that you could potentially look for, or long it, moving into next week as well. Yeah, I think this has potential to actually be a trade setup that you could get into. Maybe if price, want to see price reach here, maybe support it. If we get a push lower, right? We want to see some rejections, price hold it, and then a continuation moving up. So if price does reach back down here, right, and we got to push back up into this zone, then I think there's a higher probability for that to be maintained and price just pushing upwards, right? So if this is something that continues within today or tomorrow during the during NFP, right? If price reaches here during NFP, I think you could hold it and actually long it to the upside. Right? So just some food for thought. I really don't trade indices like that. So I'm not gonna be, like I said, I'm not gonna be over risking it. I'm not gonna be taking too much risk during NFP. So yeah. But some food for thought for you guys. Anybody that does trade indices, I think you have a good potential play out with that. Alright, so we're seeing that on the DXY2 price actually sort of this could be sort of the resistance zone that price is making. If the other candle, the next 1 hour candle maintains this area, then I think price might actually fall back into the support. We might see some pullbacks on the US dollar, right? Yes, the CAD could pull back into this other major zone here, right? Yes, the JPY, nada. Right, USD CHF, we could possibly see some pullback. We are passing this high right here, right? So we could actually see some pullback from this area as price pulls back on the overall US dollar strength, right? We might see sellers actually step into this, taking advantage of this zone right here, and just trying to continue the bearish push back down into these significant levels here. Something like right here where price actually made the first initial move to the upside. I saw a lot of good trade setups, right? Just to pick the golden quality trades out of all of those, right? So that's really the thing. That's really like the hardest thing in trading. Finding the best setups that you could take that matches with your confluences or your trading strategy, and just stick into that, right? Whether it results in a win or a loss, obviously we want the wins, but if it results in a loss, then you just have to take the L in strides, and just hold your peace until you see another setup come along. Gold, right? So gold, we had continuation to downside in the 15-minute. Looks like if we actually maintain this, right? If price manages to close above this area, then you have two areas here, right? So we have right here, right, this sort of zone. If price actually manages to push above this area, this zone here, right, and we get a push back into this level, like right up here, then I think a continuation seems like a good thing, right? A continuation seems sort of possible. It seems plausible to see a continuation higher. All right, so if price actually manages to come out of this zone, we get a close above here, then I think we could continue moving higher up. All right, I think that's like something that could happen. All right, so interest rates came out for the GBP. Let's see. Okay, so price pushed down. Not much happening. Price starting to push down. So we actually see price continue with that downward movement, right? Let's see interest rates. Yeah, so we did come out at that 3% as expected, right? The initial movement, price did continue moving down with the initial thought. right? GBP overall is bearish, so this was within expectancy, right? Looking here, this was the trade I actually took here, right? Was actually looking to see this being maintained on a possible spike to the upside. Now we note that price is bearish, right? We initially get this push down. However, on this candle, we could very well close back up here, right? So if we do manage to close back up, then I think I might actually try. I will actually try to long this again, right? So if price manages to wick back up here, then I think that will be enough to actually make a confirmation. If we close back here, make a confirmation for a continuation higher, right? So price is pulling back right now, and I'll actually take a position if we manage to close back into this area, right? And this would be a good setup for the pullbacks, right? So if we get that pullback, it'll be a good setup for long continuation to the downside, right? So GP, JPY, GP, USD. Let's see the other ones. Yeah, so you got the initial spike to the downside, GP card. Yep. Yeah. So looks like those continuations. We might actually see it. Yeah, we might actually see those pullbacks, guys. So this seems like this still a good probable setup for me. So if we do get that close back into this area, I'll take the trade to actually go swing to the upside for now, right? So that's it, guys, for this stream. Hopefully you guys found this informative. You got some information out of it. The only trade I am going to take other than the trade I'm currently in right now, which is this 80 card, right? Price actually pulled back a little bit here, right? Other than this is that GP GPY trade, right? So that's basically it for me, guys. All right, so hopefully you found this informative. You got some information out of it. Feel free to like this as well, leave a like, as well as subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And I'll see you tomorrow during NFP. We'll see what price does from that, right? But yeah, that's it. Thank you for joining in, and see you next one. Peace.